Okay. Good evening, everybody. I will now call the meeting to order. Sorry for the delay. We had a technical problem. First up, quorum. Madam Clerk, do we have quorum?
Yes, we do, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is declarations of conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts to declare this evening? Okay. So it would now take a motion to adopt this evening's agenda in its current form. Do I have a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor Jean Gras. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councillor Martin. It's Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda in its current form, show your consent by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried. So next we have the adoption of the minutes for the October 21st regular meeting as presented. Do I have a mover on that motion? Moved by Councillor Savoie. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes for the October 21st regular meeting in their current form, show your consent by saying yes. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next item is adoption of minutes from November 12th special meeting as presented. Do I have a mover to adopt those minutes? Moved by Councillor Murray. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Martin. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes for the November 12th special meeting, show your consent by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next item is questions from the public. Did we have any submitted questions from the public?
We do not have any questions from the public.
Okay, thank you. Next is petition request or delegation, and there's no items under that. Next, we have council reports. Deputy Mayor Jean Gras, do you have a report for us?
Only that I was able to attend the harassment and intimidation symposium for municipal elected officials, and I took notes. I provided those notes to council members, and I submitted them to the CAO, and that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Councillor Savoie.
None to report except this afternoon I attended a, I don't know if you recall, a webinar or it's a Teams meeting offered by DTI regarding regulations on road signage. The impression I have from the meeting is that it was just information session on changes they're looking into making, and it was the only surprising thing in there is that there's over 900 road signs in province that are illegal, if you will, as they never got permit to go up.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Murray.
Just wanted to, I didn't actually am going through this year, but I know we had quite a few members of the public reach out about the lights in the ball field and stuff that Councillor Martin was trying to put together. Unfortunately, it didn't go together, but it was very nice to see all the community come together and try to, like, I think we had, Chad probably had 100 and some people that reached out and said, hey, I'll be out there. You just name the time. So just once again, it's always nice to see a community get together and try to make something nice. But if you are looking to get involved, there are other committees like the Trail Committee and other things around. And I know he won't say it, but he is still looking for someone to help with the rink this winter if somebody wants to help with that. So he won't say it, but I'll put it out there for him. So
okay. Thanks, Councillor Murray. For my report, I just want to say thank you to the municipality. It was an honor to represent the municipality at the Remembrance Day ceremony and lay a wreath for Maple Hills. Okay. So next, under bylaws and motions, the first item is an appointment of bylaw enforcement officers. CAO Downey, do you want to just give us a recap of what we discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting?
Absolutely. So as Madam Mayor said, this was discussed at the Committee of the Whole previously. So essentially this is a resolution for council to appoint two bylaw enforcement officers. And I've prepared a motion for council if they're so inclined. This motion would allow Maritime Enforcement Services to instruct their two bylaw enforcements to act on behalf of Maple Hills. So it's kind of a required step by our service provider. Council has any questions or?
Do we have any questions before we move? Okay. Do I have a mover to move on this motion?
I'll move.
Deputy Mayor Jean Gras.
Whereas the Maple Hills rural community requires designated bylaw enforcement officers to ensure compliance with its bylaws, whereas Maritime Enforcement Services provides professional municipal enforcement support through qualified officers, whereas the municipality will name the officers of Maritime Enforcement Services as bylaw enforcement officers in accordance with Section 72 of the Local Governance Act and Section 14.3 of the Police Act. Whereas Jordan Cyr and Samuel Leblanc of Maritime Enforcement Services have demonstrated the qualifications and experience necessary to fulfill the responsibilities of bylaw enforcement officers, it is resolved that the Council of Maple Hills Rural Community hereby appoint Jordan Cyr and Samuel Leblanc of Maritime Enforcement Services as bylaw enforcement officers for the Maple Hills rural community effective immediately. It is further resolved that the appointment officers shall have the authority to enforce all bylaws adopted by the Maple Hills Rural Community Council and to perform such duties as may be assigned under the applicable legislation and municipal policies.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on this motion? Seconded by Councillor Savoie. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of appointing the said bylaw enforcement officer, show your consent by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next,
Madam Mayor, is it okay if I provide further clarification for anyone that might be watching at home?
sure.
So the purpose for Maple Hills to have the bylaw enforcement is specific for the dangerous or unsightly services that we're starting essentially January 1st, 2026. So this is a service that was previously taken care of by the province and collected. The taxpayers were paying for this already to the province. Now this is just going to be redistributed under our own budget.
We've actually already taken it over though, correct?
We've taken it over effective November 1st.
Right.
But the tax portion, that taxpayers will pay won't begin until
Yes.
January 1st, 2026.
Okay. So the next item is the capital renewal plan. I guess we'll refer to CAO Downey again. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know we discussed it at length at the committee of the whole meeting. Okay.
Okay, so I have attached I don't know if everybody can see the attachment there, the capital renewal plan for 2026 to 2029. So this is the new fund that the province is starting January 1st, 2026. So capital projects would be considered after January 1st, 2026. So this funding cannot be, it cannot go into any projects that are to date. And I've put together sort of I believe there are 3 projects on here, possibly 4. So the first one is signage infrastructure replacement project. And again, this fund is to replace, refurbish, reinvest in capital assets that we already have. And so the first one is for signage replacement. The second one I put in is for community sports field renewal project. So that would be doing some upgrades, renewal to our sports fields. The third project is for community center upgrades. So that could be upgrades for the Irishtown Community Center beside us. And So the rest of them, so we've been asked by the province to put together a plan from 2026 all the way through to 2029. Because we don't have that many projects, I've completed number 4 through to 12 as to be determined. And again, this capital plan should be renewed, or actually has to be renewed every year by council. So you guys will review it, and then we'll send it back to the province. Anything that's on here that we want to proceed with has to be first approved by the province. So they're vetting what we're spending essentially their funds on. So again, there's a sample motion to send this through. If council proceeds with this plan, we send it off for approval at the province, and then we would receive payments beginning January 1st. So there's a January payment and then a July payment.
Okay. And again, that's on items we own,
That we already own, yeah.
fixing and renewing
Renewing, expanding.
owned property.
Yeah, expanding the lifespan of something that we already have. So this is something, because this is really new for council and myself, if there are things that, that we haven't thought of already, these are things that we can, again, change the plan, resubmit it to the province. So it's gonna be an ongoing thing. It will also help us with our budget planning for, projected years.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, do I have a mover on this one?
I'll move.
Go ahead, Councillor Sagwa.
Be it resolved that the document entitled Maple Hills 2026-2029 Capital Renewal Plan, CRP, for the Capital Renewal Funding, CRF, allocation be adopted.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question?
Question.
We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the capital renewal plan as proposed, show your consent by saying yes.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay. We'll let you second this one. Next up is a grant request. For those of you that can't see because the mics aren't on, we have dueling seconds. Next up is a grant request. CAO Downey, do you want to give us a little background on the grant request? I know it's attached, but.
I sure will. So because we still have $750 left in our grant budget, I'm bringing this to you. So the policy, the way that it's written is that there's a March 31st deadline and then an October 31st deadline. This grant request came in early in November, so it just missed the deadline, but because we still have funds there, I wanted to bring it forward to council. And also because this particular group that's looking, it's the U11A Moncton Hawks. In their grant application, it indicates that there are 7 members of their hockey team who live in Maple Hills. So the request is for $500 to contribute to the U11A Moncton Hawks to support team sponsorship and lessen the financial burden on parents.
So I did read the grant request. There was quite a bit of detail on it. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Do we want to move on this motion? Okay, Councillor Murray will move.
I move that council approve a grant in the amount of $500 to the U11A Moncton Hawks to support team sponsorship and help lessen the financial burden on families.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Martin. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of proceeding with the $500 grant for the U11A Moncton Hawks, show your consent by saying yes. Opposed, no. Okay, motion carried, and good luck to the U11 Hawks this season. Can we maybe just put a little pin in, given that the strat plan talks about us, promoting the grant, maybe in January, could we look at changing the dates in that policy? I find often we're saying it's outside of those dates, and maybe we need to have, something a little more frequent.
Yeah, we can definitely look at it. I think it was probably,
Yeah,
I think it was put like that to reduce the burden on staff so that grant requests weren't coming in all the time. But I find that because they don't come in all the time, maybe it would be better to do quarterly or I don't have a problem, if council doesn't have a problem, usually I would bring this to committee of the whole first, but they did put the request in early in November, and we're not gonna be meeting again.
Right.
But typically I would try to keep these to committee of the whole, but,
I don't think twice a year is probably, especially for if we want to look at supporting a sports team, like you might be outside a window if you're only twice a year, so.
yeah.
I know that, we've agreed consistently to go outside those windows if it made sense, but I think maybe it just makes more sense to change that window. Okay, so we can do that in January, just so we don't have to keep having this conversation. Okay, so the next item is transfers to the reserve, and I will let CAO Downey give a little bit of an explanation for those who might be watching the live stream so that they understand what it is we're doing.
Okay. So the transfer to reserves happens at the end of each fiscal year. So the motion has to be made by council, and then the actual physical transfers of funds has to be done before December 31st of each year. So the operating reserve account for municipality is limited to, or it's restricted to 5% of your previous year's expenditures. So what we are proposing is to move our maximum that we can move, and that's 35,000. So essentially, we are projecting a surplus at the end of this year. So we can take 35,000 from our general operating of this year and put it into operating reserve. That operating reserve can be accessed without having to wait for your second year surplus. So what's left over outside of that $35,000 will end up on the 2027 budget. And the second part is the transfer to capital reserve. So there's no cap on how much municipality can have in their capital reserve. And for 2025, we had put in the budget that we were going to be transferring 125 into capital reserve. That would mostly be used, obviously, because we have two major capital properties, this building and the building beside us. It puts us in a healthy position to do any upgrades, and also when we're looking at the end of the life cycle for, like, say, this building, or when things in this building are reaching the end of their life cycle, we have that monies in capital. So that's the reason for these two transfers. And just so everyone also is aware, when this requires a motion, if we're also taking out of the reserve, be it capital or operating reserve, that's gonna take a motion from council as well. So, that it doesn't give administration the ability to take money out of those reserves. It has to come back to council and say, if it's operating, we're running short on this, we don't want to run a deficit, it's going to require us taking 15,000 out of our operating reserves, so that we're not running a deficit. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay, does anybody around the table have any questions about this? Councillor Savoie?
The question is, CAO, are you, so there's a cap on the money we can put in the operating reserve?
Yes.
Are we healthy? Is that a healthy amount that we have in that reserve at the moment?
Yes, so what we did last year, we moved over enough so that over the span of the year, gaining interest on that bank account, we weren't gonna go over. So we did some calculation, and we didn't go over the 5% that we're allowed. If you do go over the 5%, it's reflected in your audit. The auditor will make note of it, that you're not compliant with legislation. So right now, we're fine. The amount that we're transferring, the 35 that we're proposing, putting that 35 and then including all the interest that we're gonna earn in that, if we don't take any out of that, we're gonna remain under that 5%. So it's basically putting in exactly what we're supposed to. Not supposed to, no more than what we're allowed to.
Okay.
I'm good. I'd like to,
Excuse me. Sorry. You want to move?
I'd like to move.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was,
No, that's
couldn't
okay.
remember what to say. Whereas Section 101A of the Local Governance Act permits the local government to establish, manage, and contribute to the operating reserve fund. It is resolved that the sum of $35,000 be transferred to the rural community of Maple Hills General Operating Reserve Fund, with the funds be allocated from the 2025 General Operating Fund.
Okay, do I have a seconder on this motion? Seconded by Councillor Martin. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of moving with the transfer to the operating reserve fund, show your consent by saying yes.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. So next, we have the motion for the transfer to the capital reserve fund. Do I have a mover on that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Jean Gras.
Whereas Section 101B of the Capital Governance Act, or the Local Governance Act, permits the local government to establish, manage, and contribute to a capital reserve fund, it is resolved that the sum of $125,000 be transferred to the rural community of Maple Hills General Capital Reserve Fund, with these funds to be allocated from the 2025 General Operating Fund for future capital spending.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question?
Question.
We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of doing the capital reserve fund transfer as presented, show your consent by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay. CAO Downey or Madam Clerk, do we have any unfinished business? No, we do not. Okay. It would now take a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Jean Gras.